My parents took my brother's side after he destroyed my future. I just said, all right. The next day he saw my empty locker and panicked. Please tell me you haven't posted it yet. My father's fork clattered against his plate, the sound echoing in the tense silence of our dining room. He delivered the verdict like a judge sentencing a criminal, not a father talking to his daughter. You will withdraw from the science fair. You will go to school on Monday and you will apologize to Kevin. In front of everyone. For the trouble you've caused. My mother, Jennifer, just nodded, her eyes misty with that practiced, disappointed look she reserved just for me. My brother Kevin leaned back in his chair, a smug grin pulling at his lips. He'd won. He always won. I felt their 3 pairs of eyes on me, a suffocating weight. I focused on the polished wood of the table, the same table where I'd spent hundreds of hours soldering circuits and programming microcontrollers while Kevin played video games in the next room. I took one slow breath. I kept my voice perfectly level, completely devoid of the rage that was burning a hole in my chest. All right. Kevin's smirk flickered. My mother blinked, confused. My father opened his mouth, a whole pre-rehearsed lecture ready to spill out, but he stopped, the words dying on his lips. They expected a fight. Tears. Pleading. They didn't expect compliance. I pushed my chair back from the table, the legs scraping against the hardwood floor. I walked up the stairs without another word and closed my bedroom door with a soft click that felt louder than a slam. Inside, the chaos was a physical thing. My project, the culmination of a year of work, was a mangled heap of wires and shattered solar panels on my floor. It wasn't just a project. It was my ticket out, a full scholarship to a top engineering program. And in the middle of the wreckage, its glass face cracked and needle bent, was my grandfather's old voltmeter. The one he'd used to build radios during the war. The one he gave me before he passed, telling me to build a better world. Kevin had known exactly what he was breaking. He hadn't just destroyed a machine, he'd targeted a memory, a legacy. He wanted to make sure there was nothing left of me to salvage. That's when the roaring in my head stopped and a cold, quiet clarity took its place. I wasn't going to salvage anything. I was going to rebuild from the ground up, starting with burning this entire house down, metaphorically speaking. The fight wasn't over. It had just begun and they didn't even know they were on the battlefield yet. This was not a surrender. This was a declaration of war. I gave them one last chance to do the right thing. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen and placed my phone on the granite countertop. I'd set it up on my bookshelf the night before, a tiny spy camera that saw everything. I pressed play. The video was crystal clear. Kevin creeping into my room, his face a mask of jealousy. The sound of him ripping apart the delicate framework of my automated drone. The deliberate, sickening crunch as he stomped on the solar array. And then the final act of cruelty, picking up my grandfather's voltmeter and slamming it against the edge of my desk. He'd looked right at the camera, a sneer on his face, and whispered, "Let's see you win now." The video ended. My mother just stared at the blank screen, her hand fluttering to her throat. My father didn't even flinch. He picked up his coffee mug and took a long, slow sip. "Image is everything, Samantha. You know that." His voice was cold, detached, like he was discussing a quarterly report. "What does it look like if our son, a captain of the football team, is accused of this?" "It looks like the truth," I said, my own voice sounding foreign to me. He scoffed. "It looks like a bitter, jealous sister trying to tear down her successful brother. Kevin is a leader. He has a reputation. Kev, a hobby. A hobby that was about to pay for my entire college education," I shot back. "And that's the real problem, isn't it? That I was getting out and he wasn't." My mother finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Your father is right. This would destroy Kevin's chances at a sports scholarship. We have to think of the family. You're the older sister. You need to protect him." I felt something inside me snap, a final wire breaking under too much strain. Protect him? He's the one who needs to be protected from his own actions. My father stood up, his chair scraping loudly. "That's enough. Your decision is made for you. You are not to leave this house. You are not to go to school, you are not to go to the STEM lab, and you are not to contact anyone. You will stay in your room until you are ready to do as you're told and fix the damage you have caused." He wasn't just siding with Kevin. He was imprisoning me. They were locking me in a cage to protect the person who had shattered my future. They thought they were taking away my power. They had no idea they had just handed me the key. The walls of my bedroom were my prison, but they were also my war room. I had everything I needed. I was cut off, isolated. For 2 days, the silence in the house was a weapon they used against me. They thought time and loneliness would break me down. They underestimated my resolve. On the 3rd day, a notification popped up on my phone from an unknown number. It was a single line of text. "STEM lab. Back door. 10 minutes. It was from Melissa Peterson, the head of the school's STEM department. A woman who had mentored me for 4 years. a fierce advocate who saw the spark in me from day one. I slipped out of the house like a ghost, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and adrenaline. The lab was dark and quiet, smelling of solder and ozone. Melissa was waiting by the main workbench, her arms crossed, a grim look on her face. I saw the security footage from the hallway outside your room, Sam, she said, her voice low but intense. The school installed them after the break-ins last semester. She turned her laptop around. On the screen was the same scene I had recorded, but this was official, time-stamped, undeniable evidence from a school camera. She saw the relief wash over my face. I knew you didn't do this. I also know what your family is capable of. I've seen it for years. She let out a frustrated sigh. The school board won't act without a formal complaint from your parents, which we both know will never happen. So we're going to go a different route. She pulled up another screen. The Pioneer Academy. An elite, invitation-only STEM boarding school. I'd been on their wait list for months, my one long-shot dream. They had an opening, she explained. An early decision candidate dropped out. They need to fill the spot in the next 48 hours. They want to interview you. The scholarship they offer is a full ride. Housing, tuition, everything. A complete escape. But my project is destroyed, I whispered, the despair creeping back in. My application was based on that. Melissa smiled, a sharp, determined smile. Your old application is irrelevant. We're sending them a new one. She pointed to the screen. They have a special consideration clause for students in untenable educational or domestic environments. Your new application essay is going to be about what happened this week. You're going to attach the video files, both of them. You're going to detail your parents' response, their threats, everything. We're not just going to tell them you're a brilliant engineer, Sam. We're going to show them that you can survive anything. Their cruelty, their betrayal. That's your new project. And it's going to get you out of here for good. For the first time in days, I felt something other than rage. It was hope. I didn't sleep. For the next 36 hours, I wrote. I poured every ounce of betrayal, every moment of calculated cruelty into that essay. I attached the video files, the time-stamped school footage, and a detailed log of my father's threats. I hit send at 3 a.m. A confirmation email arrived instantly. Application under expedited review. I closed the laptop and began to pack. Everything was methodical. I had a checklist I'd written months ago, a secret, in case of emergency, plan. Escape Plan Alpha. Step 1. Secure personal documents. Birth certificate, social security card, passport. Step 2. Open independent bank account. Done 3 months ago with every dollar I'd saved from part-time jobs. Step 3. Car title. Transferred into my name on my 18th birthday. The list went on. Every possible cord they could cut, I had already severed myself. The next morning, the quiet of the house was broken by a knock on my door. It was Kevin. He still had that smug look on his face, the one that said he was just checking in to see if I'd broken yet. He pushed the door open without waiting. And then he froze. He stared at my empty closet where only a few wire hangers remained. He looked at the 2 large suitcases, zipped and standing by the door like soldiers awaiting orders. His eyes darted to my desk where my Escape Plan Alpha checklist was taped to the wall, every single item neatly checked off. The smirk vanished from his face, replaced by a wave of confusion, then dawning horror. What did you do? He stammered. I didn't answer. I just watched the reality of the situation crash down on him. He saw my laptop open on the bed. He lunged for it, his hands shaking. The screen was still on the email I'd received less than an hour ago. The subject line was in bold blue letters. Congratulations from the Pioneer Academy. He read the first line aloud, his voice cracking. We are pleased to offer you a full 4-year merit scholarship. His face went white as a sheet. He dropped the laptop on the bed and sprinted out of the room, screaming my father's name. I heard his frantic footsteps thundering down the stairs. He burst into the kitchen where my parents were having their morning coffee. He shoved the laptop at them. Please tell me you haven't posted it yet, he begged, his voice high with panic. Posted what? My father asked, his smile dying instantly. Kevin pointed a trembling finger at the screen. The video. The essay. He sent it all. He told them everything. The final confrontation happened right there in the kitchen. My father snatched the laptop, his face turning a dark shade of red as he read the acceptance letter. My mother started crying, those familiar, manipulative tears. You are not leaving this house, she sobbed. Actually, I am, I said, leaning against the doorframe, my arms crossed. My dad stood up so fast his chair scraped backward on the tile. Over my dead body. You are 17. 17 years, 11 months and 2 days, I corrected calmly. And state law is very clear. With a full-ride scholarship to an accredited boarding institution, parental consent is rendered optional after 17 and a half. Feel free to Google it. My father's face shifted from rage to disbelief. Then you're cut off. The college fund is gone. The car stays here. Your phone plan will be cancelled before you reach the end of the driveway. I shrugged. I switched the phone to my own plan 6 months ago. The car title is in my name, signed and notarized last year. And the college fund? You drained 80% of it to buy Kevin his new truck last summer. There wasn't much left for you to take. Silence. A thick, suffocating silence. My mother's sobs were the only sound. My father just stared, his authority crumbling before his eyes. He had no moves left. He'd built a prison around me, but he'd forgotten that I was the architect. He tried one last time, his voice low and dangerous. If you walk out that door, don't ever come back. I held his gaze without flinching. That's the plan. That's when my phone rang. A new contact Melissa had sent me. Mr. Davies, attorney for the Pioneer Academy. I answered and put it on speaker. Mr. Davies, it's Samantha Reed. We're all set for tomorrow. His voice was calm, professional, and cut through the tension like a knife. Good morning, Samantha. Yes, everything is confirmed. A car from the academy will be at your residence at 700 hours tomorrow to transport you. I should also note for any interested parties that we have forwarded your file, including the video evidence and your personal statement, to local child protective services as a matter of protocol. Any attempt to interfere with an emancipated minor's right to education will be met with immediate legal action. The police have been notified as a precaution. The line went dead quiet. My father's face was a ruin. The rage was gone, replaced by pure, unadulterated panic. For the very first time in my life, he was the one who looked away. He had lost. He just hadn't realized the game was over before he even sat down to play. I walked out the front door the next morning and never looked back. The black car was waiting at the curb just as Mr. Davies had promised. I didn't say goodbye. There was nothing left to say. My new life started the moment the car pulled away from the curb. The Pioneer Academy wasn't just a school. It was a sanctuary. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who understood my language, who saw my passion not as a hobby but as a gift. The work was harder than anything I'd ever done, but it felt like breathing after being underwater for years. I thrived. I led the robotics team to a national championship. My senior thesis on sustainable energy grids was published in a scientific journal. I graduated valedictorian with a full scholarship to one of the best universities in the country. The calls and texts from my family came at first a flood, then a trickle, then nothing. I blocked their numbers one by one until my phone was finally silent. Years passed. I moved to a city on the coast, took a job as a tech ethicist at a startup, working on projects that felt like they were genuinely making the world a better place. My best friend from high school, Jessica, would occasionally send me updates. She kept them brief, just the facts, the way I'd asked. Your dad lost his job during a company restructuring. Apparently, the story about what they did got out. He and your mom divorced. She lives in a small apartment across town. Kevin dropped out of community college. Last she heard, he was working nights stocking shelves at a grocery store. Each message was a small, quiet confirmation that a world without me in it hadn't turned out the way they'd planned. Their perfect family image had been a house of cards, and I was the one card holding it all up. Once I was gone, it all collapsed. One rainy Saturday, I was in my own apartment, the city lights twinkling outside my window. I had the news on, a quiet hum in the background. On my workbench, under the bright glare of a desk lamp, were the pieces of my grandfather's voltmeter. It had taken me years to find the replacement parts, some of them decades old. With a steady hand and a pair of fine-tipped tweezers, I set the last tiny gear in place. I polished the glass, carefully reattached the needle. I connected it to a small battery and the needle jumped, perfectly calibrated. It was whole again. I hadn't just escaped. I had rebuilt. I had taken the broken pieces of my past and engineered a future they could never touch. The peace I felt in that moment was something I had built